We're here to talk about the future of technology. So let's begin with the one nut that nobody seems to have been able to crack, the platform shift from desktop to mobile. How do you crack that nut?
Well, I think that, one, is it's really important. If you look at what's happening in terms of the shift to mobile, the number of mobile phones and smartphones in the world has tripled in 5 years. Tablet sales will outsell laptops this coming year, if predictions hold true. So it's really incredibly important, and there's a lot of consumers overall making this shift. So one is understanding how these devices work, what they really provide for, and how we can best meet users' expectations. And then, of course, the other piece is monetization. And that's the nut. There's all kinds of really interesting applications that exist on the phone. The real question is making money from it. And I have a lot of faith and confidence that whenever you see a consumer shift of this type, that there will be a very interesting value-added way to create a monetization around it.
Where does that confidence come from?
Well, it was sort of the bane of my existence from about 1999 to 2004. Was that at the time I was at Google, and for about 5 years, every time I interacted with anyone externally, the one question they would ask me is, you know, search is wonderful. It's so great to be able to find everything that we can find. It's just wonderfully academic. How is anyone ever going to make any money from it? And now that seems almost absurd because search is one of the giant money makers. It's not the giant money maker online. But that said, whenever you see consumers adopting a technology, a platform, you know, a particular application like search, with this much volume, you know that advertisers will want to participate in that. And there's usually a way where you can introduce advertising such that it's not intrusive, that it actually adds value to the end user, and that it actually enhances the experience, and that's what we need to work on.
Well, we can look backward now and see how that was done with search. Everybody gets to play Monday morning quarterback and feel smart about it. Can you tell yet what some of the shifts will be in mobile that will allow mobile to duplicate the success of search as a moneymaker? Because it has to make money, or else at some point innovation will grind to a halt. Well,
and I think people already are. You know, for example, the application store, there's a lot of people who sell applications. So there's some monetization there. I think the big thing is search is a daily habit. And what people do on their phones often become daily habits. It was interesting for me when I thought about the strategy for Yahoo. I pulled the list of what people do on their phones in rank order of frequency. And if you ignore a few exceptions of things that are going to be done by the carriers, like voice and text and maps, because I know from my former life that it's really expensive and hard to do right, the list looks like email, check the weather, check news, get financial quotes, check sports scores, play games, share photos. You get the idea. And it was funny because I would go and I would recite that list in the context of being, you know, the new CEO at Yahoo, and I would say, what am I doing? And my friends and family would say, well, you're describing Yahoo's business. And I said, no, actually what I'm doing is I'm listing in frequency order what people do on their phones. So the nice thing at Yahoo is we have all of the content that people want on their phones. We have these daily habits. And I think whenever you're dealing with a daily habit and really providing a lot of value around it, there's an opportunity not only to provide that value to the end user, but also to create a great business.
To your point, search remains one of the defining experiences for most internet users. Whether we call it search, whether we call it content discovery, seems to me that it will remain, the way you described it, fundamental to what we do. How do you see it evolving?
Well, I think that all of the innovations that you'll see in search will be in the user interface layer. So, you know, if you look at the past few years, there's been universal search, the notion that search won't always be text-based. You can get videos and images, instant search, so when you're typing, the fact that it's very speedy and responsive, voice search, the fact that now, you know, something like a quarter to a third of searches are done by voice on the phone. So all of those types of things are what we're going to see evolve in the future. And I also think that there's a huge opportunity in search around personalization, understanding what do I know already, what are my preferences, and how to present the information. And I think that that extends beyond just search, but broadly to discovery. If we can think about how do we take the internet and order it for you. There's all these news feeds, all over the web that, you know, people will check. Twitter, Facebook. And, you know, the question is really, what order should people read things in the morning? What should they look at? How should they do that? And to really do a great job in that kind of discovery mode, in addition to search, you need a terrific sense of personalization.
Will personalization then, in some respects, replace search? That once the computer, so to speak, figures out what it is we like to look for, it'll just look for it on our behalf, and we won't have to go and do it any longer?
I think the right way to think of it is it's not that it replaces search, but it becomes a critical part of search. You know, I think one provocative way of thinking about it is, in terms of, a lot of people will say, well, when you type into the search box, that's your query. In the future, you become the query. It's what you typed, it's your background, it's where you are, it's your preferences, it's what you looked at yesterday, and the search box can take all of that as the input and come up with a set of results that are customized for you. And the nice thing is, if you're the query, one, you could actually explicitly type in search terms, or you could just be the query passively. You know, this is the notion that if we can pick up on your context, who you're talking to, where you are, can we actually provide useful information or a series of links, pictures, videos that are actually more useful in your current context because of that context?
That sounds exciting, but right now the web for most of us is still a very managed, curated experience. How long does it take before we get there, and what are the key enabling technologies going to be?
Sure. I think it's probably going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years. I think that a lot of what we've seen happen, image recognition, voice recognition, translation, these are all backbone technologies to really being able to understand context. Now it's a matter of being able to take the personalized notions that people have already been expressing online, things like likes on Facebook, what do you tweet, what do you pin on Pinterest, right? What articles do you click on? Taking all of those little signals and mapping those to understand that when, for example, I like clean energy on Facebook and I tweet out something about green energy, that's in fact the same interest of mine.